nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a regularly scheduled public session of the Woodridge Board of Education, is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, also known as the Sunshine Law. This meeting has been approved by resolution adopted at the organization meeting held on January 6, 2026. Notification has been sent to the record. Notification has also been posted in Woodridge Borough Hall, the Woodridge Memorial Library, tapinto.net, and the Woodridge Board of Education website. Notice is hereby provided that as of March 1st, 2026, future meetings notices will only be published on the district website. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. The board announces that under its longstanding policy, it will not discuss in public any comments made by members of the public concerning individual staff members. Before coming to the board, the chain of command should be followed. There are two portions of the meeting reserved for comments made from the public. The first at the beginning of the meeting for agenda items only, and the second at the end of the meeting for other items. Issues raised by the public may or may not be responded to by the board, but all comments will be considered. The board requests that all members of the public be mindful of the rights and other individuals when speaking. Due to confidentiality and legal rights afforded by the state of New Jersey, members of the public are asked to not speak negatively or in a derogatory manner about any employee of the board or any student. Please be advised that all or a portion of this meeting is being live streamed in real time and will be recorded for rebroadcasting at a future date. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon.
Here.
Mr. Garvin.
Here.
Mrs. Milano.
Here.
Mr. Vaccaro is absent. Mr. Biamonte.
Present.
And Mr. Nieves.
Present. We do not have any presentations for Student of the Month or Student Representative Report. That was actually postponed because we were supposed to have our meeting last week, but that was obviously postponed to tonight due to the weather. So Student of the Month for December will be, Tony, is that February 23rd is our next meeting? All right, we do have, so Mr. Biamonte here actually will be sworn in. I don't know if we know not necessarily go through the election results, but. What's that? No, we don't. We don't have to. We did the last. We went through the elections on twice. No. Where's the Bible? So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joseph Biamonte,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
That I will here bear true faith and allegiance to the same
I will hear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people,
So help me God.
so help me God.
I will state your name.
I, Joseph Biamonte,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of the Board of Education.
do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of the Board of Education,
And that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A-12.
nor disqualified due to the conviction of a crime or offense listed in New Jersey Statute 18A-12-1.
And that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office,
And I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of the office,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Biamonte,
Thank you.
AKA Johnny Fontaine. All right, so we do have our statement to the BOE regarding the student safety data system for the first reporting period of 25-26. Mr. Albro?
Thank you, Mr. Nieves. Tonight, as you mentioned, I'm going to read the statement to Board of Education regarding the student safety data system for the first reporting period, which is essentially from the beginning of the summer through December 31st. And the board will take action on a resolution approving it and allowing us to submit it to the state. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, I will present to you the data recently submitted to the New Jersey Department of Education Student Safety Data System. Under the Student Safety Data System, all incidents involving any type of suspension, in school or out of school, must be reported upon. In addition, any alleged and/or confirmed HIBs must be reported. During the second half reporting period of the 25-26 school year, which runs from September 1st through December 31st of 2025, the number of incidents reported to the Student Safety Data System for the district was 64, disaggregated as follows. For the Doyle School, 1 incident of violence. For the, Mr. Lisa, is that number correct? That's the wrong report. All right, here are the correct numbers. For the Doyle School, 1 incident of violence, 1 incident of alleged HIB, which was unfounded. For the intermediate school, there were 5 incidents in total, 4 incidents of violence, 1 incident of alleged HIB, which was not founded. For the high school, 9 incidents as follows: 1 incident of violence, 1 incident of substance possession, 7 non-specific incidents which led to some form of suspension in school or out of school. By December 31st, there were no HIB reports made at the high school. Non-specific incidents typically consist of vaping, internet violations, cell phone usage, class or detention cuts, etc., leading to suspension. Thus, must be reported under the SSDS guidelines. The total number of HIB incidents investigated within the district during the first half of the 25-26 school year was 2, of which none were founded. These incidents were all investigated within the 10-day required time frame. This concludes the Student Safety Data System report for reporting period 1 for the 25-26 school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albro. Trustees, do we have any questions? I have one. So how does this compare to most other reports we've?
We are definitely off to a great start, but of course, if you read the agenda tonight, we have 4 HIB reports listed, none of which have been founded. And I think we broke the streak for the high school. The high school in this report had 0. I believe we now have added 2 or 3 in tonight's meeting. But I commented to my administration that it's been relatively quiet. And from a quantity standpoint, we're dealing with great boys and girls that are doing a good job every day. I don't want to jinx myself, but it's going well.
Thank you, Mr. Albro. All right, Board Administrator's report, Mr. Lisa.
Good evening, everyone. My last report was given on December 15th, and there has certainly been a lot of activity and work in our office since that time. In addition to our normal purchasing and payroll operations, the close of the quarter brings about a number of required tax-related and pension-related submissions. Because it was also the close of the calendar year, typical IRS and OSHA-related submissions were due, including W-2 and 1095 submissions to the IRS and to our employees, in addition to 1099 submissions to the IRS and to our vendors as well. I would like to thank my staff for their diligence in getting all the aforementioned tasks completed and on time and with fidelity. On the finance side tonight, item 1 is the approval of the bills list. You will also note that we have a walk-on resolution, Finance 1, which will supersede F1 on the original agenda. With the meeting on January 26th having been necessarily rescheduled, the usual Finance resolution, F1, will be covering an additional week of time since the canceled meeting, thus necessitating this superseding resolution. Item 2 is the approval of the board secretaries and treasurer's reports for December. Item 3 is the certification of the balanced budget. Item 4 is the approval of monthly budget transfers. Also under finance, F5 is the approval of a number of fundraisers, and F6 is the acceptance of donations from the Carfora family and the PTA. We thank them for their continued support. That concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lisa. Trustees, any questions? Tony, on to our superintendent report.
I'm going to make it from down there if the board wants to join me down there. Good evening, everyone. It was in a board meeting in October when I reported out initially on our state assessment scores, and that's mandated by code. But the funny thing about that is you essentially, the only data that you get is the proficiency data. You don't get anything else. And after that report is made, including up until last week, there's still data being put together and submitted to each district. So tonight's report really is about talking about where we used to be statistically and where we are now. For example, of course, the district right now has just about 65 or 6% of our students pass ELA last year, which is our greatest number that we've had in the last 10 years if you take out 2 years because we had COVID. It's not 100%, it's not 95%, it's not 85%. The board has been consistent in driving me as a superintendent to increase those scores each year. And we are getting there, slowly but surely. And the intent of my report tonight is to give you a perspective of where we were, where we are now, where we're going, in addition to showing everyone the other data pieces that exist to give us a better idea of how we're getting there. So talking about ELA, I went back to 2015 to give you an idea of where our scores have evolved from. Now, the first 3 years we were in Park. That was a different test. Moved on to NJSLA. And what I've highlighted for you is in yellow are our highest or greatest numbers of proficient students by percentages. And if you look in 23, 24, and 25, you're seeing our highest totals in the last, again, 10 years minus 2. And to me, that's indicative of growth in our district. It's not where we want to end up, but it's putting us on the track to go where we want to be. And as I look at the data up top, you obviously can see some trends that take place. If you look at 6th grade going across, and then go diagonal to the next year into 7th grade, you're probably going to see numbers 64 to 54, 63, 51, 71, 63, 76, 2 years over 54, 67, 52, 75, 49, 83, 64. That is an area that is causing us problems in terms of demonstrating growth in that grade level. When we had in 2024, our 6th graders, 83% of them passed the NJSLA assessment for language arts. The following year, pretty much the same group, outside of children moving out and moving in, we had 64% pass the test. That is where our overall score, once we leave grade 6, that's where we're having the difficulties, and that's where our lower numbers are, and that's where we're putting our focus towards. Now, another piece of data that comes out, every district has a set of target scores established by the federal government in the Every Student Succeeds Act. So right now, the targets are in 28, 29, there's a target for each subgroup, from all students down to special education. That's the target that we're headed for. We're not limited to that, but right now, as we sit today, that's the target we're aiming for. So this graph will show you where we are in terms of meeting our targets, because every year it's incremental. There's a new target. If you fail to meet a target, they recalibrate things. But this year, as you can see in the yellow, we have met and or exceeded in a variety of subgroups the target for this year. And hopefully next year, we're going to continue that growth. As I mentioned earlier, one of our focus points is grades 6, 7, 8. So just for the illustration of numbers in isolation, I put up from 2019, 2022, which is the first year after COVID, we returned to testing, And those are the sixth grade, 7th grade, 8th grade numbers. The Woodridge score is the numerator, and the state score is the denominator. So for example, in 2019, the 6th grade had 76% of their students pass the exam. The state had 56. And again, we see that trend, 76, 54, 53. Again, skipping 2 years. 67, 52, 36. 75, 49, 50. Not including grade 9. We're looking at grades 6, 7, and 8. Obviously, what's involved there? A transition to a new school, a different schedule. So later on in my presentation, I'll discuss at the things that we're focusing on. Another component is something called student growth percentiles. That impacts the student, every student who took a test last year in grades 4 through 7 for math and grades 4 through 8 for English language arts has a growth score tied to them. Every teacher who teaches those children in math or language arts, they have a median growth score for each of those children. In other words, all the children on their schedule, take all their growth scores, find the median. That's the teacher score, which is part of his or her evaluation at the end of the year. So just quickly, SGPs measure the progress of individual students compared to their academic peers. In the fall, every test taker received their student report. And on the student report in the back page, it lists what their growth percentile was. The growth percentile is determined by matching them with their academic peers. Academic peers are all the students in New Jersey in the grade level that took the same assessment and scored the same. So if I scored 750, my growth moving forwards compared to everybody else in my grade, statewide, that scored 750, and see how much we've grown comparatively. The MSGPs are median student growth percentiles, which are a way to measure growth for groups of students, such as schools, grade levels, programs, classes, and subgroups. As I mentioned earlier, MSGPs are tied to teaching staff members in their annual ratings. I provide the example at the bottom. If Tony took the grade 6 ELA assessment in 24-25, his academic peers for ELA would be other students who scored similarly on the grade 4 ELA assessment in 22-23, and the grade 5 ELA assessment in 23-24. That's who you're being compared to. When we look at an individual student's growth percentile, the range is from 1 to 99. And it's grouped in 3 levels. There's low growth, typical growth, and high growth. And the way you determine what it actually means. For example, if Tony, who's a bright student in English language arts, had an SGP of 70 for ELA, it means that he performed as well or better than 70% of his academic peers, which would be considered high growth. Median growth percentiles affects the staff member. To calculate the MSGP, the student growth percentiles for all students in the group are ordered from smallest to largest, going back to like 6th grade math now. And the MSGP is the percentile in the middle of that list. This means that half of the students in the group would have an SGP above the median and half would have it below. For example, if I were teaching grade 7 English and I had 9 students in my class and I listed in order their growth percentiles, the median, the middle would be 42. That's the median growth percentile that's tied to me as the teacher, as part of my evaluation. And that's for every student I have in ELA in that grade, or math in that grade. SGP does not exist for science, and it's only ELA and math for certain grades. This is our growth. The state establishes a target for growth for each subgroup. You meet the target. This is the same for everybody. You meet the target if you have reached 40 to 59.5 points of growth. You've exceeded the target if you've reached 60 or more. Obviously, anything below 40, 39.5 and below, you are not met the target. So this is our growth chart for last year in ELA. And in yellow, we met. And I listed typical because if that was an individual student, that's what the state considers to be a typical growth. You'll see in the high school, in our turquoise/aqua, we're not meeting all students in high school. That's grades 7 and 8 in ELA. Not meeting 31 points, if you will, of growth. We needed 40 to meet that. Not applicable in Asian American because we don't have enough students for it in that category. Same thing for Black African American. Hispanic, which is a growing subgroup for us in our community, did not meet with a score of 24.5, which is well below meeting the target. White population had bad luck and had 39, so they're one below meeting the score. Economically disadvantaged, that's 34. And special education, we've met at every school level and in the district with considerable growth. This is taking a look at our district-wide percentile of proficiency. Prior to COVID, we registered 60% proficient. Coming back from COVID, we're at 54%, 62, 61, and now 67%. That is where we stood this past fall. Our goal for 28-29 set by the state is 70. And right now we're at 67. So if we continue that progress, we're going to meet that goal. Mathematics is a little bit of a darker picture sometimes. These are our percentages for grades 3 through 8. Algebra 1, which includes our 8th graders who take Algebra 1 as well as our 9th graders. And our geometry numbers are our 9th graders who are in an advanced track of math, taking geometry honors as a freshman. And I highlighted again our greatest scores in yellow. The good news is that in the most recent 3 years, we've reached most of our highest scores thus far. Comparatively or relatively, in 8th grade in 2023, a score of 21 is our highest score. It's not 50, it's not 60, it's not 70, it's 21. But that was our highest score thus far. And since then, 16 and 19. Meeting the targets. Right now, the target for our district, 28-29, would be 61% of our students passing the math assessment. Again, that's the state's target now based upon our history. We can exceed that. We're not limited to that number. I did list for you in yellow, again, where we exceeded and met the target scores for proficiency. Where we have not met are in the high school. Now, in the high school, in mathematics, we're talking solely about grade 7. That's it, in the high school, grade 7. That's for growth. Right now, 7, 8, 9. So this is 7th grade math, 8th grade math, 9th grade algebra, and 9th grade geometry for certain students. So in the high school, we did not meet our proficiency target in all students. We met in Asian American Pacific Islanders, did not meet in Hispanic, did not meet in economically disadvantaged, and we have our targets there. Again, comparing 6th, 7th, and 8th, because again, that's our focal point right now. And the good news is, for example, if you look at 6th grade going across, our highest scores are in our most recent years. In grade 7, we seem to score better prior to COVID, sort of matched it coming out of COVID. We've dropped a little bit and we're coming back ahead. And in grade 8, we've been in the teens outside of 2023, and the state average is the denominator, and they've been relatively close to us. 8th graders are taking Math 8, not algebra. In terms of growth, now we only count grades 4, 5, 6, and 7 for math. So at the intermediate school, we had all our students meet. We exceeded in Asian Americans. We met in Hispanic. We met in white. We met our goal in economically disadvantaged. We met our goal in special education. At the high school, where this is solely grade 7, we did not meet in all students, Hispanic, and white. So that's essentially our 7th grade math students. Our higher track students are in pre-algebra, but also take the 7th grade math test. There isn't a pre-algebra test with the state. District-wide, we did not meet by 0.5 points for all students. We exceeded as Asian American and Pacific Islanders. We met Hispanic. We did not meet in white students, 35.5, did not meet in economically disadvantaged, and we did meet in special ed. We've met our target in special ed in every area. Looking at our math scores, prior to COVID, 43% of our students reached proficiency, and currently in the past last spring, reported out in the fall, we're at 52%. So we're making progress in that regard. Science. I gave you the scores for science in 22, 23, 24, 25 as compared to the state. The crazy thing about science, whereas in English and math, the data that we get in terms of what questions were taken, how they did on the questions, where the mistakes were, is enormous. Science, it's very limited. You basically know that they took a science test. You don't know what areas they were strong or weak in specifically. And I think that's something that the state's looking to improve moving forward. So, point of pride, fifth grade, last year, 53% of our students in fifth grade passed a science assessment. That's our greatest total in a very long time for as long as I've had science assessments in our state. In grade 8, we haven't matched the 17% that scored in 2023, nor the 27% in grade 11 in 2023. And those are comparisons to the state. Now, science is one test, and it has a score. It's weighted less than English, language arts, and math, but still, it counts towards QSAC. It counts towards any rating any magazine puts forward. So science breaks down to practices, investigative practices, sense-making practices, and critiquing practices. Many of us, years ago, depending upon where you went to school, it might have been rote memorization. You learned the 3 states of matter, et cetera. Now you have to put those things into play. It's not simply recall now. Content area-wise, the state assessment assesses in each grade level, grades 5, 8, and 11, earth and space science, life science, and physical science. And what I put up there is science is scaffolding in every grade level, sometimes in different percentages and majorities, but is touched upon in every grade level. And I listed for you specifically where we do certain things. Obviously in the high school, we have specifically named courses. In our 7th and 8th grade, we have specific science courses. In the elementary level, one thing that we've done, and perhaps the 53% in grade 5 is a testament to that, we've added, where we normally have phys ed and music and art and library, we've added a STEAM class. So every week, students will have a STEAM class for 1 period a week, where they're literally in a, it's our activity room or STEAM room, where they're blowing things up, making a mess, not simply sitting there taking a test. They're excited by it. Ms. Goodland teaches it at Doyle School. They're very excited by it. They're actually learning hands-on. And perhaps that's giving our children a different perspective when they take that test. They're actually experiencing it. We also have our STEAM program in the high school. Dr. Sekova, who's our art teacher, also teaches that as a cycle class. It's for half a year in both buildings. Our science score since 22, we are now at our highest score in the 4 years, 27%, up from 15. And again, this is grades 5, 8, and 11. Now, to address it, I mentioned already STEAM. We realigned our grade 9 through 12 science course sequencing. We're in the final phase of that. We're hoping that's going to have a positive effect. Writing class in grades 7 and 8, gifted and talented programs. Administrative team walkthroughs to observe teaching and learning. We offer extended day opportunities for students, whether it be federally funding Title I, Title III immigrant, summer school, out-of-district professional visitations for our staff. Let's go find the place that does it well. We'll send our people there to see if we can learn the tricks. Budgetarily, right now, we're examining the purchase of new text series in grades 6 through 8 science. And once the budget is struck, we'll have that determination as to what we're going to do. Along with those books comes a whole slew of elementary science kits, which is another purchase that we have to make and we're considering currently. The possibility of STEAM as a full year, 1 day a week course in K to 6. Perhaps making STEAM a course in our grade 7, 8 program in our semester long courses right now. Years ago, when you had to pass the grade 11 test to graduate, if you didn't pass, you took a remedial course the next year as a senior, and that was your way to get out of the course. Given some of our results in that grade 7 and 8, I don't want to make it as motivation, but perhaps something we have to consider is a separate course in the time of day where you're working on specific math skills that were deficient in the last assessment, whether it be individualized for a student or for a group of students. That's something that we have to consider. We don't have it currently. We used to have it again in high school, and we still have it to some extent in high school. That's because graduation was hinging on it. So perhaps that's a way to give students more direct instruction to have better success on their assessments. One thing that we've thought about, Moonachie does it now. Moonachie says every grade 7 student has pre-algebra. Every 8th grade student has algebra. The thought process is if they decide to go to school someplace else as a 9th grader, they're at geometry. Regardless of whether, they passed the test or not, they took the course, they go to geometry. So right now, this is the first year where 8th graders from Moonachie already took algebra, and they're entering into geometry. So in one respect, and this wouldn't be the driving force, if all of my 7th graders took pre-algebra, they would take the Math 7 test, the same way my higher group does right now. If all of my 8th graders took algebra, there would be no more Math 8. It would be solely algebra. And perhaps that's a way to get a sequence going that we can go back to 6th grade and say, listen, in 7th grade, they're all going to take pre-algebra. In 8th grade, they're all going to take algebra. So in 6th grade and 5th grade, this is what we have to do to get them ready. It's not in stone, but it's something that we're considering because obviously when you look at the scores, you can't keep doing the same thing. So that's something that we're looking at right now. And that would have a budgetary consideration, more textbooks, more materials, et cetera. Focus points, as I mentioned earlier, statistically from grade 6 to grade 7 and 8, there's been a drop. Specifically in growth, if you look at grade 6, if 83% of those kids passed, odds are their growth scores are pretty good. They would have to grow even more in 7th grade, which statistically sometimes be very difficult. This year, we eliminated our midterms, and that was really my driving force, because having observed midterms both as a student, as a teacher, and as an administrator, the 4 or 5 days, the week we take to give our midterms, plus the 5 days and maybe more prior to that to get ready for the midterm, I felt that was an awful loss of instructional time. So now we're going to recoup that instructional time and see if that makes a difference. Hopefully we'll continue our test item analysis. Hopefully this upward trend continues. It means what we're doing is working, maybe not with the increment that we want it to be, but it is moving forward with greater numbers in our scores each year. How do we inspire student growth in all grades, but most specifically in grades 4 to 7 in math and 4 to 8 in English language arts? It remains to be seen the impact of a full pre-K program. We have 85 students right now getting an extra year in our school. What will their test scores be as 3rd graders 4 or 5 years from now? We're going to continue to monitor the growth of population in our growing subgroups, our Hispanic students, our Black African-American students, our multilingual students, our Asians and Pacific Islanders, and special ed students, because as those numbers increase, they become numbers that have a data score to them. Early on, you saw a bunch of NAs. If there were fewer than 20 students in a subgroup, it wasn't reported out. I know the students' results, but it's not reported out to the public. I would predict probably in 3 or 4 years, we'll probably be showing data in every subgroup pretty much. And of course, the state right now is looking at changing different areas of curriculum for September. So then we'll be up against the timeline of the state putting it forward, taking public comment, passing it, and then telling the schools, okay, you have this amount of time to get ready for it. So that's something that we're up against for next year. I greatly appreciate the time that you gave me to give this report. I hope it gives some clarity to, again, I want to be at 85% in everything. We're not there yet, but I think the things that we're doing in the classroom, my teachers, my administrators, everybody involved in it, we're getting there. Slow but steady wins the race. That's what I'm thinking about right now. Any questions? I'm going to come on. The question that was raised is that we have a 4th grade parent And she's commenting on the fact that, like last week, for example, there might have been a great many assessments / benchmarks. Now, honestly, we do a benchmark in the fall, winter, and spring, and probably in every content area. So it is. And it's not something you can study for. It's basically, well, hopefully they're not memorizing it. Right. Well, the,
switching till seventh grade, to be honest with you. And I think they're pushing them a little bit, like to be that adult, and that's what's causing that, disconnect, I think, in seventh, eighth, and the high school. Because I don't think we're a bad district, I just think there's a disconnect there. And I think we have great teachers, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy with my daughter being in She did her since the pre-K program, but I think there's a disconnect. And that's why I came tonight, because I saw this happening in a few weeks, and like I said, my daughter, I'm sure she's seen a therapist online because of this. And we talk to other parents in different districts, and my niece, for example, who lives in South Jersey, they don't do this constant testing. They test the kids, but it's not a constant every week. So that's what my concern is.
and that's in fourth grade.
This is fourth grade now, but it's starting in third. I saw the jump where that's where she started getting the anxiety, and I had to her with the school counselor and even get her outside help because she's like, mommy, pressure. Oh my God, I gotta learn this. And it's a lot. It's a lot. The brain's going fast. Even for us parents, I'm stressed. I come home from work to sit there and learn about properties of waves in fourth grade. I'm like, I don't want to, it's a lot. And they have to memorize it and then fill it out on a test. So maybe, and they only have science and social studies once a week. So that's not helping. I'm going to say Mr. N was out sick last week. It was supposed to have a test Thursday. So now they're having a test this week. So it's like, okay, now you haven't seen that teacher for 2 weeks and you're going to give them a test. So I don't think that's fair in a way. I just think there has to be a better way to assess the kids, and not every 5 days. Because I can show you for the classroom every 5 days we have a test. It's like math worksheet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, test. Reading ELA, they get a packet. They have to do a packet every day. They have to do a word search. They have to do the full read, and then the test. So it's like, and then they're getting tests on Monday, so they got to study now on the Sunday. They have sports. They have all these extra. So they're stressed. And I was looking to some of the other parents, but they couldn't come to kind of say the same thing. But I'm here, so I just wanted to voice my.
Thank you.
You're here,
And I'll go look into that tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I have access, obviously, to all the lesson plans, et cetera, and I'll take a look at that. Thank you, though, for your contribution. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, trustees, I know we had some comments. Mr. Albro has the action item. Take a look tomorrow, but do we have any questions? Nope, we're good. All right, approval of the minutes upon the recommendation of the superintendent. The Board of Education approved minutes of the following meeting, public session meeting December 15th, 2025, and January 5th, 2026. Can I get a first? Mr. Fallon, can I get a second? Mr. Biamonte, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Garvin,
Yes.
Mrs. Milano,
Yes.
Mr. Biamonte,
Yes.
Mr. Nieves.
Yes. All right, motion carried. Committee reports. Before we get into committee reports, I'll just get into committee reports. Why break the pattern? On our agenda tonight, we do have 3 walk-ins, which I will read aloud once I get through the table of contents and all of the different resolutions that are up for approval. We'll start with curriculum instruction. 1, which is approval of an evaluation request. 2, approval of a field trip request. 3, approval of a field trip request, which includes Moonachie. 4, approval of professional development request. 5, approval of related services. 6, approval of out-of-district placement termination, which includes Moonachie. Approval to purchase equipment. Approval of evaluation request. 9, approval of student teachers classroom observation field experience internship. 10, 11, 12 are all include Moonachie. Approval of professional development request. Approval of an out-of-district placement. Approval of termination of services. And 13 is Woodridge only, which is approval of out-of-district placements. On to personnel. We have approval of the revision of the personnel appointment. 2, 3, and 4 include Moonachie, approval of a coaching appointment, acceptance of a personnel resignation, approval of a personnel appointment, 25-26 district substitutes, acceptance of personnel resignation. 6, which includes Moonachie, is approval of the co-curricular appointment. 7, which is the approval of the personnel workshop appointment. 8 and 9 include Moonachie, which is approval of personnel workshop appointment and the approval of the request for leave of absence. Curriculum 10, we are actually tabling for this meeting, and we'll vote on that on the February 23rd meeting. And 11, approval of personnel appointment. We have none for policy. Buildings and grounds, we have the approval of the facility request, which includes Moonachie, and another approval of facility request, which is Woodridge only. On to finance, we have the approval of the bills list. All these include Moonachie, approval of the monthly financial reports of the board secretary and treasurer, approval of the certification of a balanced budget, approval of budget transfers, approval of fundraiser, approval of acceptance of donation. Board operations, we have the affirmation of the superintendent's report of incidents of harassment, intimidation, bullying, otherwise known as HIB, within the district. 2, 3, and 4 include Moonachie, approval of the agreement with the YBH of Passaic Hillel, a New Jersey non-public school, to employ Robert Berger in the New Jersey STEM Initiative, September 1st, 2026 to June 25th, 2027. Approval of emergency boiler repair, approval of the Woodridge School District calendar 26-27. The remainder of these include Moonachie, approval of the of health and safety evaluation of school buildings checklist and statement of insurance, SOA, for the 25-26 school year. Approval of 25-26 student safety data report, data systems report, period 1, and submission to the New Jersey Department of Education. Approval of the HVAC repairs, NJSLA testing. Approval of the agreement with Valley Health Systems. Affirmation of superintendent's report of incidents of harassment, intimidation, bullying, otherwise known as HIB, within the district. Trustees, any comments, questions, or concerns before I open it up? Oh, sorry, my mistake. I do have to read our 2 walk-ons. The first is the addendum number 1, January 6, 2026. This is personnel 12, approval of personnel appointment. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approves the following personnel. Richard Kirkman, within the district, as a replacement, acting facilities manager, full-time, $1,000 a monthly stipend. Start date is 1/1/26, end date is TBD. The second, which is Finance 1, which includes Moonachie, is approval of the bills list. This is the revision that Mr. Lisa spoke about. Because we were postponed a week, there was an extra week of payment, so you'll see when it's posted, the bills list from December 16th to February 2nd, as well as the manual checks until February 2nd, the payroll transfers for December through February 2nd, enterprise funds from December 16th again to the 2nd, and debt service payments from December 16th to the 2nd. The approval of the policies upon the recommendation of the superintendent. The Board of Education approves the following. It's policy, I will come back to that one. And for district policy 9210, parent organizations. This is a policy that we've had for a while, so we are making a change to that. It was adopted November 20th, 2001, and the revision is for tonight, 2026. The Board of Education will encourage and support organizations of parents or legal guardians whose objectives are to promote the educational interests of district pupils. No parent organization may organize pupils or sponsor school activities or solicit monies in the name of the school district or of any school in the district without the prior approval of the board. Such approval must be sought by written application to the superintendent. Representatives of recognized parent organizations shall be treated by district employees as interested friends of the schools and supporters of public education in the school district. The board relies upon parent organizations to operate in a manner consistent with public expectations for the schools and reserves the right to withdraw recognition from any parent or any organization whose actions are to the interest of the pupils and this district or of this district. Parent organizations shall have a formal leadership structure consisting of a board. The membership thereof shall be determined by the organization. Parent organizations shall have regular monthly meetings at which minutes will be taken. Parent organizations shall also have a treasurer who shall keep comprehensive records of all monies received and disbursements made. The treasurer's records shall be subject to review by the administration to ensure compliance. This policy shall not apply to parent organizations controlled by statute or regulation. Apologies that I missed that. Trustees, any comments, questions, or concerns before I open it up to the hearing of citizens? I will open it up to the hearing of citizens first on the resolutions only. Do we have any questions? No. Ted, you promised you'd have a question. Next one. All right. Do we have anything that was?
Nothing online.
Nothing online. All right. I will close the hearing of citizens. Trustees, looking for your support, Moonaki included, for resolutions on curriculum instruction 1, 3, 6, 10, 11, and 12. Personnel 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9. Policy and regulations, the addendum 2. Buildings and grounds 1, finance 1 through 6. And board operations 2, 3, 4, 5 through 10.
Not nine.
Okay. I have 9 on there. That's Valley Health Systems?
Yeah, that would be both.
So it is-
It would be 9.
Okay. So board operations 2 through 10. Trustees looking for your support. Can I get a first? Mr. Garvin. Second, Mrs. Milano. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Garvin,
Yes.
Ms. Milano,
Yes.
Mr. Biamonte,
Yes.
and Mr. Nieves.
Yes. Trustees looking for your support again. This is Woodridge only. Resolutions, curriculum instruction 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 13. Personnel 1, 5, 7, and 11. None for policy and regulation. Buildings and grounds 2. Finance none. Board operations 1. Looking for your support. Can I get a first? Mr. Fallon. Second, Mr. Biamonte. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Garvin,
Yes.
Mrs. Milano,
Yes.
Mr. Biamonte,
Yes.
Mr. Nieves.
Yes. All right, trustees, before I open it up to the hearing of citizens, and what they'd like to talk about, do we have anything for new or unfinished business? Yes, please.
For the members of the community who might be watching tonight, I sent an email out earlier this afternoon, just reminding that tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, we are on one-session days for our parent-teacher conferences in all 3 school buildings. So Doyle and the intermediate school will dismiss at 12:28 Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The high school will dismiss at 12:13 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Friday will be a full day of school. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, since we have nothing for that, I will open it up to hearing of citizens. Anything you'd like to speak about?
Ted Colarusso, 173 Palmer Terrace, also longtime teacher at the high school. I was wondering, is the board aware of any upcoming policy from the state or the Board of Education about student accountability for test taking based on Mr. Albro's report for the scores for English, math, and science?
Can you elaborate on what you mean by test-taking policy?
Sure. Students are not held accountable for their test scores, and I'll speak since I am a science teacher, in science at all. There has no motivation for them to score well. It's not part of their grades. It's not part of a graduation requirement. So when they approach the test, sometimes some of the students decide, well, we're not going to do very well, and we're done within several minutes. I was wondering if there's any type of policy that you're aware of that's coming down from the state saying that now this testing will be held to accountability for these students.
I'll let Mr. Albro speak to that, but if there's not by the state and there's something that we can do from the board's perspective, I would 100% support that.
Okay, thank you.
But let me ask Mr. Albro.
Mr. Colarusso, it's a great question. As you know, it is not the board's desire to deliver these assessments. It is a federal mandate. Because of the money that we receive, the board, the state every year has to develop for the federal government what their accountability plan is going to be. In other words, we're giving these districts money. How are we going to see that they're doing something worthwhile and productive with it? You are correct. Currently, right now, the only assessment that actually has an impact for a student would be the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, which they have to pass if they take the test to graduate, otherwise graduate via a different process. Our students in our multilingual program have to reach a certain score to exit from the multilingual program. But for the remaining test grades, there right now is outside of if a earned test score were to impact any aspect of an honors class at some point or trying to get a 7th, 8th grade trying to get into the Bergen County academies, that's all intrinsic. That's not anything that's operated by the board. As a superintendent, as a board member in another district, I have not heard anything coming down the pike. I have heard in some areas where there might be fewer tests coming down the road. But we have a new commissioner of education in the state and coming from the state of Texas. So I'd be curious to know what her plan is going to be for our testing moving forward. Because essentially every year, come the springtime, the state starts to write their plan for the federal government. This is how we're spending the money. This is how we're going to hold everybody accountable.
Thank you.
He said you didn't disappoint. Thank you. I said you didn't disappoint. Thank you. You came up with one.
Hi, Jennifer Santiago, 390 Highland Avenue. I just want to bring up two concerns I have for security in Doyle. I'm currently co-coaching basketball, and in Light, we just got an email regarding there was graffiti in the 3rd and 4th grade new wing, which this is a new building, shouldn't be happening. But my concern is that on weekends, a lot of people are in and out. I've seen people adults ride scooters up and down the hallway, kids trying to go up into classrooms. Is there a way maybe to cage that off, like how sometimes other schools do that when you go visit their school for sports? Because we're in the cold weather. You don't know if a homeless, the community has grown and who's checking the school after people close the gym down for the day. Maybe somebody's hiding in there, you don't know. So that came to me as a concern. I also know that the building got bigger. I only see one officer in the front. How about the back wing? Anybody can jump that fence. Anybody can, God forbid, shoot into the glass. There's classrooms back there. I always think of that because you've seen it in other districts, small districts. We're not, I guess, it can happen anywhere, right? So I know my daughter's in her last year of 4th grade there, but I do look out for my fellow neighbors that have small kids still there in preschool. So that's something that should be looked into. The school did grow in size, and being an officer in the front, from what I've heard, doesn't even patrol that new wing or in the back. So maybe, setting money in the budget to get an extra officer in the back or, monitoring what's going on in the bathrooms and during the weekend games, especially.
Do you want to start or do you want me to?
Thank you for your comment. It's something that was brought to my attention. My first response was to reach out to Mrs. Goldklang in Recreation, because let their people know that it stinks, but if you're coaching a team, you're responsible for the kids that you're coaching on the
Correct.
court, off the court. You would hope that parents would realize that now is not the time to take a tour. I've been talking with the borough about what we can do to try to dissuade people from doing that, whether it be a physical block or just getting the word out that we don't want to do that. The graffiti was in the form of a glue paste stick.
I heard marker or
Yeah,
pencil.
it was a
and one of
glue
those
paste
little-
stick that was
Yeah.
writing someone's name
Yeah.
upstairs. I think we have a pretty good grip on that situation. It's post fact, but I can watch everything that happened on Saturday or Sunday in any part of that building at any time, and I do often check it. And when I see certain things happening, that gives me more information to say, this is what I have to do. At the end of the night, Monday through Sunday, whatever time the gym's being used, we do have a custodian employed to go
Check
through
the
the building,
building,
lock it
okay.
up and close it up.
Okay.
This
That
is
was a
the,
concern from other parents too, because we saw like even adults just riding up and down on a scooter, like in the hallway, like it was like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So that is something that, now that we have it, you see what some of the pitfalls are and what you have to address. I don't think when you plan a school, you addressed a metal gate to separate one end from the other. So that's something that we'll be mindful of, and hopefully collectively, the community, the recreation, my people, we can keep a better eye on what's going on, because it's a beautiful school.
It is,
And
and
we don't
it's-
want to dirty it, mark it up in
Damage
any
it
way.
or anything.
Or lose use of it, or lose use of it.
And also, I don't know if the budget allows, but how about putting like a little shade into the entrance there to the new wing so the kids are not getting wet, like holding things like that? A lot of parents have talked about like a little like tarp or something to the entrance. Because I've seen some teachers holding the umbrellas trying to help kids.
An awning you're essentially talking
Yeah,
about?
something like that.
That's something we can take a look at, absolutely.
Yeah. Because I've seen the poor teachers like holding umbrellas trying to help the kids. So I'm saying something maybe just to, so the kids don't have to, hold everything. Okay, that was it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anything online?
Nothing online.
All right, I will close the hearing of citizens to whatever they'd like to talk about. Trustees, I think that will conclude our meeting, so motion to adjourn. Mr. Garvin, Mr. Biamonte, all in favor? All opposed? Well, motion passed. Hey, good night, everybody.